Imagine a massive explosion, the kind you see in the movies, a blinding flash of light and a giant mushroom cloud rising into the sky. For nearly a century, that image has had one name written all over it: uranium. It's the heavy hitter, the king of the periodic table, the element that ended wars and promised us a future of unlimited power. We've spent trillions of dollars and decades of research obsessing over it. We've built our entire modern world around the idea that uranium is the most powerful thing on the planet. But here's the secret the history books usually skip over. We might have crowned the wrong king. While uranium was getting all the headlines and the Hollywood movie deals, there was another element sitting right next to it. It's cleaner, it's safer, and it's packed with so much energy, it makes uranium look like a flickering candle. It's named after the Norse God of Thunder, and it's been hiding in the dirt under your feet this entire time. Uranium is not the most powerful element, this one is, and it's time you learned its name: thorium. Think of uranium like a very rare, very expensive set of light-up Legos. It's flashy, but there are only a few sets in the store, and if you don't snap the pieces together perfectly, the whole thing might overheat or break. Thorium is different. Imagine a giant bucket of standard Lego bricks, the kind you find in almost every toy box. First off, thorium is everywhere. While uranium is hard to find and requires massive mines, thorium is sitting in common rocks and sand all over the planet. It's about 3 to 4 times more abundant than uranium. If uranium is a rare diamond, thorium is the silver found in a coin. Still valuable, but much easier to get your hands on. But here's the Lego secret. Thorium isn't actually fertile right out of the box. You can't just set it on fire and get energy. Instead, you have to feed it a few neutrons, kind of like taking a basic Lego brick and snapping a special power-up piece onto it. Once you do that, it transforms into a version of uranium called U-233 that is an absolute powerhouse. In a thorium Lego castle, the pieces fit together more efficiently. Because it's so energy dense, a handful of these bricks contains as much energy as hundreds of tons of coal. And the best part, when you're done playing with your thorium Legos, the mess left behind is much easier to clean up. Uranium leaves behind radioactive waste that stays dangerous for tens of thousands of years. Thorium's leftover pieces are much safer, much faster. It's the ultimate build it and forget it power source. If uranium is a high-performance sports car with no brakes, thorium is a self-driving Tesla with every safety feature imaginable. When we talk about nuclear power, the word everyone fears is meltdown. In a traditional uranium reactor, the fuel is solid. If the cooling system fails, that solid fuel gets hotter and hotter until it literally melts through the floor. It's a runaway train that's incredibly hard to stop. Thorium flips the script. Most thorium designs use molten salt. Instead of solid rods, the fuel is already a liquid, a hot, glowing soup. At the bottom of the tank, there's a freeze plug, which is literally a plug made of solid salt kept cool by a fan. If the power goes out or the reactor overheats, that fan stops, the plug melts, and the entire liquid fuel supply drains safely into an underground storage tank. Gravity does the work, no human intervention needed. The fire just goes out. Then there's the efficiency. In a standard reactor, we only actually burn about 1% to 5% of the uranium. The rest just sits there, becoming radioactive waste that we have to bury for 10,000 years. It's like buying a whole pizza, eating one pepperoni, and throwing the rest in a safe for a millennium. Thorium is a clean plate. It's so efficient that it can use up almost all of its energy potential. We're talking about a 90% plus utilization rate. Because it burns so cleanly, the waste it does leave behind is a tiny fraction of what uranium produces. And here's the kicker. Thorium waste only stays dangerous for about 300 years. That sounds like a long time, but in the world of nuclear physics, that's a blink of an eye. It's more power, less mess, and zero chance of a Hollywood-style disaster. If thorium is so much better, safer, and more common, why aren't we using it to power everything right now? The answer isn't about science, it's about history, and specifically the Cold War. Back in the 1950s, when nuclear power was brand new, scientists actually built a working thorium reactor. It worked beautifully. But the people holding the checkbooks, the governments of the time, had a very specific requirement that thorium couldn't meet. They didn't just want electricity, they wanted a way to make atomic bombs. Uranium is dual purpose. When you run a uranium reactor, the leftover waste is plutonium, which is exactly what you need to build a nuclear warhead. Thorium, on the other hand, is too peaceful. It's incredibly difficult to turn thorium byproduct into a weapon. During a time of global tension, the peaceful element lost. We chose the fuel that could double as a weapon, and once we built the entire world's infrastructure around uranium, it became too expensive and too complicated to turn back. There's also the sunk cost problem. We've spent 70 years perfecting uranium technology. Switching to thorium now is like trying to convince the whole world to stop using gasoline and switch to hydrogen overnight. It requires new factories, new safety regulations, and billions of dollars in new research. But the tide is finally turning. Because thorium is so much harder to turn into a bomb, it's actually the perfect energy source for a more stable, peaceful world. Countries that don't want the baggage of weaponizable nuclear material are looking at thorium as their golden ticket. We didn't ignore thorium because it was worse. We ignored it because it was too safe for a world that was preparing for war. So, where do we go from here? Is this just another too good to be true science story, or are we actually going to see a thorium-powered world? The truth is, it's already happening. Right now, in 2026, we are in the middle of a massive global race to reclaim this lost technology. China has already taken the lead. Out in the Gobi Desert, they've successfully fired up the world's first modern thorium molten salt reactor. They aren't just experimenting anymore. They've recently discovered massive thorium mines that could power their entire country for generations. They're even designing giant cargo ships that run on thorium, meaning the toys and clothes you buy could one day be delivered across the ocean with zero carbon emissions. India is right behind them. They have some of the biggest thorium deposits on Earth, and they are currently commissioning a massive breeder reactor that is the missing link to unlocking their thorium future. For them, thorium isn't just a choice. It's their ticket to total energy independence. And back at home, things are finally moving. In the US, a new wave of nuclear renaissance is happening. Private companies backed by billions in funding are working on small modular reactors, basically thorium batteries the size of a shipping container. Instead of one giant scary power plant, we could have small, safe thorium units powering neighborhoods or even individual data centers. The future doesn't look like the smoky, coal-stained past, and it doesn't have to look like the uranium-fueled tension of the 20th century. The future is literally in the dirt beneath us. It's clean, it's safe, and it's powered by the God of Thunder. Uranium had its time. It built the 20th century and showed us what nuclear energy could do, but it's a high-maintenance king with a messy legacy. If we want a 21st century that is safe, clean, and has enough power for everyone, we have to look at the God of Thunder. Thorium isn't a dream anymore. With countries like China already proving it works and startups across the US and India racing to scale it up, the peaceful element is finally having its moment. We are moving toward a world where the very rocks beneath our feet can power our entire lives without costing us the planet. But I want to hear from you. Now that you know thorium is safer, more efficient, and harder to turn into a weapon, do you think we should make the switch immediately? Or is it too late to walk away from our uranium-powered world? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the tech that's actually changing our future.